if you don't have a demand for the product, and if you don't have a supply for the product, simple economics 101, demand and supply. So in our existence, there is a strong demand for illicit, and there's a strong supply of illicit trade. And because you find the criminals, they are finding new ways. You find legit operators of businesses are diverting from their core function, business model, and they're getting involved in illicit trade because it's a huge business. Just imagine you bring in a 40-foot container of cigarettes. I mean, you don't have to work for the rest of the year, or probably if you are 40, 50, for the rest of your life. You know, so just think about the enormity of the problem. The clandestine nature of the trade. Back in the days when I was a young cop, and we used to do the buccaneer duty, you saw where these criminals in the ganja trade, how they operate. These criminals now, these organized crime groups, these importers now, it's so close knit that if you are not known to them or your network, then they won't sell to you. What we find from our end is that they have they have emails. For example, they set up an email, Victor Barrett at Gmail. I pass it on to Marcus, I pass on it to Ali, and with the password, and we communicate like that. So I log on and I send a message, but I don't send the message. So you can view, so when you get the password, you can go inside it and you view the message. So you don't transmit the message for us to capture the message. So the whole clandestine nature of the operation, or it's a mafia business, you know, so that's part of the challenge for us. Storage facility. Storage facility is a sore point. Every time I look to the far left and I see my staff, every time they write a report to me, if we find 500 million worth of cigarette, we find $80 million worth of cigarette, at the end, sir, we need storage. And every time I go to meeting, I tell Mr. Bailey we need storage, because if we had the storage, I mean, illicit trade, counterfeit goods, every day we can rake up $100 million. I can tell you that. I can close my eye and find $100 million worth of goods every day, but we don't have any storage. So storage is an enforcement challenge for us, because right now my office is filled with counterfeit goods. So when I go to work, I go downstairs, I mean, talk to the staff, and I move next door to another office. I can't go in my office. So we have those challenges. Mobility also is a major factor for us. And I'm going to put career staff on the line now. Marcus. Okay, Ali. Yes, mobility is a big factor for us. So these are some of the challenges that we find in policing the illicit trade. I make some connection. When you look at the society and the economy, and you look at the legal market, and you look at the regulation, from the slides you can see the impact that illicit trade has on the economy. The society and the economy, how does it link? The purchasing power, I keep talking about purchasing power because every time you raid, you go on the street, they are saying that the police is licking away the man eating a little food. That's all they're talking about. They don't speak about the health concerns. They don't speak about the fact that it fuels organized crime. They don't speak about the fact that, you know, it's just not good for the country. You're just eating a little man food. So the purchasing power is of significant importance to us, because what you find is that with disposable income being low in this hostile economic environment, you'll find that consumers of cigarette, they are shifting away now from the legit cigarette carriers, and they are moving into the illicit because of cost. And the criminals, the importers, they are aware, so it impacts the economy. The legal market, the retail price increase, I mean, it fosters, it enables the demand for the cigarette, for the tobacco, because you have a high price on this end and you have a low price on this end. Most naturally, you're going for the low-end cigarette, because in all the sense, there are probably, I mean, good cigarette. I don't smoke cigarette, but the man who smokes, he or she doesn't care anymore about a brand, a Matterhorn or a Carrier or Craven A. You know, it's just about getting a cigarette to smoke and drinking some rum. The regulation. The high incidence of taxation on the retail price increases the difference in the price and the legal in products, right? So we keep talking about, Marcus spoke about the regulation, and see, so while the government, and there might be innate issues with the World Health Organization and countries and the tobacco industry, those are side issues. We are dealing with enforcement, and we are seeing that regulation, you know, the high taxes, once again, I mean, drives the smoker who smoking cravingly for probably 15, 20 years to shift to a sunny, to our vibes, you know. So these are what we find. These are the connections that we find, because in policing the crime, you have to understand, you have to study for you to fight these criminals. These are some of the successes that we came across, or we have since the start of the year. The dart, and you see the container. Up to last week, if you check the system at custom, that container is still on the wharf. Yes, that container is still on the wharf. And I must tell you, I am no agent of custom, but custom is getting a bad name, because when these criminals steal the containers off the wharf, before it even reaches a point where customs are involved, then the common man blames custom. So, you know, we just have to understand and educate ourselves that there's more that meets the eye. You know, there are criminals that operate our customs, and they're bypassing the systems, the protocols in place, and they're stealing goods. So you can imagine you steal a 40-foot container of cigarette. The same holes that you seal, that you could steal a 40-foot container of guns and ammunition. And when you check, I mean, we have so many guns on the streets. So, and this instance is not the first, and I don't think it will be last. We find on the slide to my top right, that operation led us to an upscale community, upscale apartment, where persons were involved in legitimate business, and they had at that location, at that apartment, cigarettes. So they are diversifying their operations, and they are more going into the illicit trade. So you'll find, back in when I was younger, the Chinese, they were good Chinese, because Mr. Chin and Mr. Fong used to sell rice and flour. Yeah, agree with me. Yeah, they're good Chinese. They used to sell rice and flour, and you know. Yes, but now some of these Chinese, and I make no apology, some of these Chinese, they are criminals. And what you find is that the triad, which is a known gang in China, a lot of these Chinese nationals that comes to the region, not only Jamaica, they are from the triads, and they are rinsing the money laundering. And what they're doing, they're manipulating the concessions that the government give to the Chinese, the 5-year concession. So what we find is that Mr. Jim Zing get a work permit, come to Jamaica for 5 years, and Jim Zing set up a wholesale for 5 years. And after the 5 years now, Jim Zing sell the wholesale, or they paint the wholesale, give it a different name, and then apply for another license in another name, Ming Ling, his current name now. So what happened now is that one individual does 10 years tax-free, and after 10 years now they go back to China or wherever, or they remarry here. So that's how they operate. So you have to understand the game, you know, understand the game. The one with the grill, it was an establishment in Clarendon, and these persons, brother and sister, I mean, the method in which they bring in these cigarettes, boy, you know, it's mind-boggling. So we are committed, but without the cooperation, without the information, the police, the customs, we can't function, because oftentimes the custom and CETUP, we work together, And custom family, most times when I give the report, I say it's a joint operation with CETAC and custom, but they write what they want to write and leave off custom. So nicely, and they've, yeah, you know. So I'm showcasing that we do cooperate and work hand in hand together. Stock. Was it illicit? Okay. All right. Today, Marcus spoke about, you know, the dollar value, but today we have an estimated 15 million sticks of cigarette. 15 million sticks of cigarette. $627 million. Just look at that figure. It's huge, and those are what we found. So you can imagine what we didn't find. So it's a big business. So now you can see why the criminals, the organized crime groups, they are getting involved in the illicit trade, because it's just a slap on the wrist, and there's no great risk, you know, on their part. Right. Currently, we have active investigations, and we have some persons that and networks that we are monitoring, and these are persons whom they have legit thriving businesses, and these persons are getting involved in the trade, and we are going to expose them. We are going to expose them. Even if we find one case or one carton, we are going to make the link and we are going to expose them. Because carriers, I am no agent for carriers, but I mean, you don't take a blind to see that if you disrupt the going concern of carriers, then on the bottom line, you'll have layoffs, right? Then the issue of disposable income. So the ripple effect is great. So from a law enforcement perspective, we have to be steadfast, and we have to understand that carriers, for now, they are authorized to sell tobacco products, and as such, we are committed to you, Mr. Steele, from CETAC. We are committed to continue the fight. I leave this slide by Andrew Carnegie. Teamwork is ability to work together towards a common vision, the ability to direct individual accomplishments towards organizational objectives. It is a fuel that allows the common people to attain uncommon results. What it simply means is that we have to network. We have to come together, not just with the illicit trade, but with just everything. If you want to have Jamaica as our home, because I don't have any green card, I have no intention of living elsewhere. We have to come together as a people. We have to not be simple-minded about how we operate. The issue of eating our food, that's not a mentality. So we have to educate the people and let them know that the police, we're just doing what we have to do. We have a legal and moral obligation to operate. The statute stands, while it's not perfect, but we have to tread on. What I can tell you, Mr. Steele and the team, is that at CETAC, we are joining with our partners. For example, the FID, we are linking with Interpol, CFU, the Council of Financial Unit. We are partnering with them. So when we make the big seizures, then we get in the financial component, where we do the financial profile, we get the tax people involved. So not just the prosecution at the court level, but we are moving beyond. So we are moving at the civil remedies, civil forfeiture. So that's where we are going. So we're taking this thing, you know, to the long haul. So I just want to, you know, let this audience rest assured that the police at CETAC, and by extension, the Jamaica Constable Force, we are committed, and we are happy to not partner, because you don't use the word partner because I understand the restrictions with the tobacco companies, but we are working to assist any legal entity that are authorized to sell tobacco products, and Carreras is one of them. We are giving our full support. My staff, we are here and we are committed. And I hope that the presentation was informative. You understand where we are, the challenges, but nonetheless, we are moving because a journey, the old adage, a journey with 1,000 miles starts with the first step. So we are not daunted. All right, that's the end of the presentation. Any questions? That's good. Wow. Well, yeah.
Hello?
Yes, yes.
This one. You were talking about regulations
Right.
that are coming. What is your expectation in terms of the regulatory? Are they going to strengthen the current laws that you have in order to give you or give the proper authorities the powers to attack this illicit trade, and also to include higher fines, include prison time, which is the best practice all through the world, and if possible, is it going to be under consultation so we can share more best practices in terms of proper regulations that have worked in other markets that we are able to share with you if needed.
All right. I haven't seen the regulation, but I'm told, I don't know if anybody from Custom could assist, but I'm told that the Custom Act is being looked at with more stringent fines and the possibility of confinement. And also, I think there's an aspect, nicely stand corrected, where the rights holder doesn't have to make a report anymore. So once we have information that illicit counterfeit goods are at a part of the premises, then customs and police, we have a free hand. So we'll have more autonomy to operate. But I haven't seen the legislation or the draft.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's good. Yes, sir, Lecky.
Yes, sir, Bart. Very informative and well-done presentation.
Thank you.
In terms of regulation, or may I say legislation,
Right.
as it is with dealing with narcotics, there is provision made for conveyance, and which gives law enforcement officials authority to seize. In terms of the illicit trafficking of cigarettes, or the trafficking of illicit cigarettes, can you speak to any such provision, whether already provided or possibly in the pipeline?
I can't speak, but that's a good suggestion, and I'll move it up the food chain to ACP, so they can have dialogue. But I haven't seen the draft. Just by third party, I heard that the legislation being remodeled. But I'll communicate, which is a good point, but I'll communicate it up the line.
Wonderful. And on a second note, in terms of broadening the eyes of CTOC right across the island, can you say what efforts are being made to sensitize general law enforcement operatives out there, be it customs, regular police officers who are not necessarily a part of CTOC? But I get the feeling that quite a number of police officers, constables out there on the ground, they are not so au fait with the illicit kinds of cigarettes. So they might see them, but it doesn't necessarily ring a bell, for action. Could you say?
All right. As part of our third quarter campaign, we will be coming to Area 1. Ali, I put you on spot. To do some training within Area 1 in terms of capacity building, not just with tobacco, but other counterfeit products. And while we are at a tobacco conference, just want to make our citizens understand that the issue of counterfeit pharmaceuticals, it's a big business in Jamaica, and it's fatal to the end user. So to answer your question, yes, we are coming to Area 1 to get involved in capacity building.
Which one is the counterfeit one? That's the pharmaceutical one.
Which one? Depending on which brand.
It is.
You have
not the generic.
Yeah.
Stop wondering.
All right. For example, we like the Viagra. Ryan. Okay, Viagra, you're thinking of. The blue pill, the Viagra. What you have from our experience, because we did some studies. The Viagra, it has Pfizer. We are trained. And then you have the blue pill now without the Pfizer label. Remember, the same diamond shape, it's a breach of the trademark, because Pfizer owns a trademark. So they are selling the blue pill without the Pfizer label, with the same blue color. But if you keep it for more than a week, you see the color changes. So that's a break of the trademark. Yes, it's a joke, but it's serious. We did some tests. And some of those blue pills, the Viagra, I think the maximum is 100 milligram. And we did some tests, and we found that there are 400 milligrams. 400. That's why you find some of these young men, who goes to gym every day, they eat healthy, they're dying. Yeah, they're dying. So we're not shifting away from the carriers thing, Any other question? All right, I think that's it. Yes.
These Chinese persons, if they are being properly sensitized as it relates to these illicit goods that they are selling.
At the first instance, they tell that they don't understand English. So it's very difficult for you to sensitize them. So conveniently they don't speak English. But this is something that we can take with the embassy, the Chinese embassy.
One of the reasons why I'm asking is because in my area, where I work,
Right.
I realize that when raids are carried out at their locations, some of them are saying that we're taking set on them, and that what they have, they are illegal, and we're just mischief makers. That's what some of them are actually saying.
Well, that might be true. I went to a store downtown, and we cleaned up the store, and there were about 300 million counterfeit goods. And when we went in there, he was rude, so that he has legit goods, and we come out of the store. But we work with the technology just like the criminals. So in real time, we can decide whether or not a good is, we have a 90% chance. And we did some checks on the whole store. So we cleaned the store. So, at face value, you have to have the evidence. And in most instances, if you don't make the big fine, the court will slap you or will penalize you, the investigator, if you don't do a test purchase. So if you see a small establishment selling cigarettes, selling counterfeit goods, it's best if you send your officers to do test purchase, and then you have that as evidence. Then you probably go back again, and then you pursue them timely, because the court, their defense in the statute is that they don't know that the goods is counterfeit. So that's their defense. But if you have a good clerk, a good prosecutor, and a good investigator, then you can refute that sort of defense, because while the issue of knowledge is important, there's also a duty of care on a merchant who is selling goods to the public to ensure that whatever he or she is selling is of good quality. So that duty of care is far reaching, so you just have to understand. And if you don't, for police officers in the room, if you don't understand, just call us and we can guide. We don't have to take over the investigation, but we can guide, we can partner. we're talking about partnership. From time to time, we call customs, the bleaching cream, and we say, hey, give us a rundown. We call the Ministry of Health, and we partner. So partnership is health. And, you know, one hand can clap. So, simple. Any other question? Going once, going twice. All right, that's fine. All right, that's it.